You're watching South Asia Newsline, and here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Tuesday, the 16th of June. India's PM Modi attends G7 summit in France. Too early to revise budget, says Pakistan after US-Iran deal. And UN extends Afghan mission, calls for review. And now for all the details. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday attended the G7 summit in France, focusing on partnerships and global challenges. The G7 summit holds immense strategic significance for India. This year marks India's 13th participation in the summit of the grouping and PM Modi's 7th consecutive attendance. We have a report.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday landed at the Geneva airport before heading to France to attend the G7 summit. He was received by President of Switzerland, Guy Parmelin. Both leaders exchanged warm greetings and reaffirmed their commitment to further strengthen the India-Switzerland partnership. Following the brief interaction, PM Modi proceeded to Evian in France, located about 45 kilometers from Geneva, to participate in the second day of the G7 summit. He participated in a working session on the theme, Forging New Partnerships and Rebuilding International Solidarity. Discussions were centered on global economic challenges, international cooperation and sustainable development. The session brought together leaders of G7 countries, partner nations, and representatives of the World Bank and the African Development Bank. On the sidelines of the summit on Tuesday, Prime Minister Modi was scheduled to hold bilateral meetings with Canada's PM Mark Carney, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. He is also expected to meet US President Donald Trump on Wednesday, and the two leaders are expected to review progress in negotiations on a proposed India-US trade agreement. PM Modi is visiting the French city at the invitation of French President Emmanuel Macron.
And Michael Rubin, the Director of Policy Analysis at the Middle East Forum, has criticized the newly announced efforts for peace between US and Iran, warning that it could trigger another round of conflict in West Asia, and questioned Pakistan's role as a mediator. Speaking to ANI, Rubin said the agreement unveiled by US President Donald Trump risks strengthening Iran without addressing core security concerns linked to its nuclear program. The analyst further alleged that Pakistan had repeatedly acted against American interests and added that Pakistan has shown itself as unworthy of any sort of trust, and yet Donald Trump continues to turn back towards it. You never want to have a mediator who wants your side to lose, he added. Pakistan betrayed the US with regard to the Taliban. Pakistan betrayed the US by hosting Osama bin Laden. Pakistan is betraying the US again now, he said. The remarks came after senior US officials announced that President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance had signed an MOU with Iran, laying out a framework for future engagement. Under the proposed arrangement, sanctions relief would depend on Iran's cooperation on nuclear verification, commitments against supporting terrorism and regional destabilization, and assurances that it is not pursuing nuclear weapons.
Donald Trump has been blinded not only by Iran's ability to negotiate, but also by his choice of mediators, Qatar and especially Pakistan. Pakistan has repeatedly shown itself as unworthy of any sort of trust, and yet Donald Trump continues to turn back toward them. Pakistan betrayed the United States with regard to the Taliban. Pakistan betrayed the United States by hosting Osama bin Laden. Pakistan is betraying the United States again now.
Pakistan is not yet ready to revise its newly announced defense budget despite the end of the Iran conflict, Finance Minister Muhammad Aurangzeb said on Monday. Speaking to Reuters, Aurangzeb said it was too early to project any changes linked to the ceasefire or estimate potential gains for Pakistan's defense sector. The remarks come just days after Pakistan unveiled its annual budget, which raised defense spending by 18% to 3 trillion Pakistani rupees, citing regional security concerns. The increase followed last year's conflict with India and growing security challenges along Pakistan's borders with India and Afghanistan. Aurangzeb said the government's current focus remains on defense allocations, given what he described as 2 active borders. While he acknowledged there could be future economic or defense export benefits following recent geopolitical developments, he said it was premature to put numbers to those expectations. Pakistan's current budget targets 4% economic growth and seeks to keep the country's $7 billion IMF program on track through higher tax revenues and fiscal discipline.
I think at this point in time, as you've seen, what we want to do is in terms of our allocation for our defense, given 2 active borders, that's what we are focused on at this point in time. Having said that, I did mention the upside which is associated with that, but again, it will be too early to project a number associated with that.
Moving on. The United Nations Security Council has unanimously extended the mandate of UNAMA, the UN assistance mission in Afghanistan, for another year, while also calling for a strategic review of the mission's operations. The 15-member council approved the extension in a resolution drafted by China, requesting UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres to submit a review of the mission by the end of March next year. The extension comes as Afghanistan continues to face a severe humanitarian crisis and growing international concern over restrictions imposed by the Taliban on women and girls. Several council members used the meeting to call for greater protection of human rights and improved access for Afghan women, including female staff working with the United Nations. China urged the Taliban to take more proactive measures to protect human rights and project an image of openness and inclusivity. The US welcomed the strategic review and called on the Taliban to fulfill its counter-terrorism commitments, respect human rights, and end to what it described as hostage diplomacy. Russia also backed the review, but stressed that it should focus on Afghanistan's humanitarian and development needs and be carried out in coordination with Afghan authorities.
The Council's unity in supporting of a strong UNAMA mandate sends an important message. The people of Afghanistan deserve protection, dignity, accountability, and a future defined by rights, opportunity, and hope, rather than fear and repression.
And Nepal's Foreign Minister Shisir Khanal held talks with China's Foreign Minister Wang in Beijing on Monday. This marks his first visit to China since his party's electoral victory in March, and the visit comes just days after Nepal's diplomatic outreach to India. The visit highlights Kathmandu's efforts to maintain balanced relations with its 2 powerful neighbors. During the meeting, Foreign Minister of China Wang said China places Nepal at the forefront of its neighborhood diplomacy and reiterated Beijing's support for Nepal's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Analysts say the emergence of Nepal's new leadership has prompted Beijing to reassess its approach to a country that has traditionally balanced relations between China and India. Khanal's visit follows a trip to New Delhi earlier this month, where he signaled the government's intention to improve relations with India. He said Nepal's new administration was free from the political baggage of the past and ready to deepen cooperation with its southern neighbor. Relations between Nepal and China have faced hurdles in recent years over delays in implementing China's Belt and Road Initiative, which Nepal joined in 2017. To revive momentum, Wang reaffirmed China's commitment to supporting Nepal's infrastructure development, including cooperation in power generation, highways, ports, and aviation. Moving on. Sri Lanka's economy grew 5.1% year-on-year in the first quarter of 2026, according to the Department of Census and Statistics, as the island nation continues its recovery from the financial crisis that began 4 years ago. The growth figure was in line with estimates cited by the central bank governor last month. Sector-wise, agriculture expanded by 1.1%, industries by 7.2%, and services by 3.4% during January to March. The International Monetary Fund, which is backing Sri Lanka with a $2.9 billion program, has projected economic growth of 3% for 2026 compared with 5% in 2025. Sri Lanka has faced fresh challenges this year due to rising energy prices linked to the conflict in the Middle East. The country, which imports all of its oil, introduced fuel rationing in March and declared Wednesdays public holidays to curb fuel consumption and protect foreign reserves. Despite these pressures, the economy has remained resilient after Cyclone Ditwa struck in late 2025, killing nearly 650 people and causing an estimated $4.1 billion in damage. Analysts say strong first quarter performance could help Sri Lanka achieve growth of more than 4% by the end of 2026. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow.